It's about your higher self connecting with you. And it's an
Yes.
orgasmic state, especially for a lot of women.
Yes.
And it's the most beautiful thing, but don't destroy it. When did you start to say, I need to help other women?
Well, I think I mentioned that when I was 7 years old, I knew I wanted to write a book
Yep.
on relationships, and that was my driving force.
Okay.
And so after I wrote the book, that was really my healing. That whole time period and everything was happening during that time period was healing. And so in that journey, when I finished the book, it just was this opportunity of what am I going to do with this knowledge? I really have more of a message to share than just writing a book. And so the book became the tools and everything it is that I use with women now to be able to take their intimate journey within.
What's the name of the book?
It's, I have it right here. It's You and I, Inc., The Connection of Sexuality and Spirituality.
Beautiful.
And it's a novel. Originally, I thought I was going to write a self-help book about marriage, and what ended up happening and transpiring, this was a magic carpet ride to write this book. It was amazing.
So it's a self-help novel.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Very novel idea, I guess.
Well, I use metaphor, so it's very powerful. I tell people it's Dirty Dancing meets The Sixth Sense.
It's beautiful. So that perpetuated your career into helping people, and then what do you do now? And tell us about that story.
Sure. So now, after I recognized that there were tools that could actually use, that a woman could take that consciousness of all those thoughts and stories that go on in the mind, and then be able to connect into the body and feel that energy again, that confidence, that charisma, what I term as sexual energy, which is not related to the genders of masculine and feminine, but what I teach as the receiving and giving in the relationship. And so once that is connected within a woman, then living in your truth and living in the relationship is easy. And my journey really stemmed from this view that I had of men, that I didn't trust them, when in truth, I didn't trust myself. So that's the journey of the story. But then through the tools and Ignite the Light, it was when you don't trust yourself, you can't be confident. You can't stand in a place of real intimacy and connection with someone, because you don't even know your own thoughts and emotions, let alone be able to share them with a lover or a partner. Right. And so that's what I help women do, is solve whatever those inner conflicts are that keep them from being either one, being able to develop an intimate relationship, or two, cultivate that with the partner.
So you said that you felt safe
Yes.
with XI, you felt safe with me. So, and you did it the proper way. You did it the right way. But a lot of women who don't have a support mechanism, or, a fantastic, husband like you do, or are single, what'll happen and I think this happened to your husband as well. What'll happen is that woman who's been abused and distorted and traumatized, they'll feel safe and secure with XI. They'll feel safe and secure with me. And even if we haven't had any personal experience, they'll get really intimate, because it's a place of intimacy. Because especially with, I know all about you. Does that make sense to you?
Totally.
I never abuse that, but that's why, whether you're a guy or a woman or a kid or whatever, again, and that's what intimacy is about, being comfortable enough, right? You're that comfortable. People who have been traumatized, women who have been abused, especially sexually, they'll come into that, say, intimate aspect of XI, or especially like with me, and then they'll have like a more of a sexual connection with me. And that's not the way to go, ladies. It's not about that. It really isn't about that. But you'll get intimate. You'll feel intimate, because it's literally the same part of your brain that has that spiritual awakening and then that sexual awakening. It is the same part. And a lot of people get confused. Go ahead.
I have an idea on that.
Yes.
And I know we talked a little bit about this, but I believe that what happens is in that situation, when you feel that safety and that permission, there's also, and I know you've talked about this before, there's an attraction. So your body starts to turn on. You start to feel things that you haven't felt in a long time. Well, if that feels anywhere close to sexual energy, which I believe is our life force, is the masculine and feminine, the highest forms of us,
Yes.
then what happens is it feels like you want to have sex with this person. So immediately what happens, and this is what I deal with a lot with clients, is if they look at a man and they think that it's the man that's turning them on, it's not. It's what they're thinking about the man that's turning them on. And so what happens is that then creates this, oh, it's him. And either this goes one or two ways. It goes where she has to have him and he becomes an addiction in her life because she feels a certain way with him, right? That she doesn't feel by herself. Oh my gosh, he's been introduced to my life. It's him that makes me feel this way. No, you're turning on all those sinners within yourself, and nobody can do that for you but you. But if you're in that pattern of victimhood, I can't imagine that that would be repeated in that, oh, I'm turning on trauma, and then shutting that down. So I see that over and over and over again, and have been through that in my own experience. But it's literally what you're thinking. And when you can understand that when you look at you or any other man, that there's a masculine frequency that you're tuned into on a much higher level, and you want to be in union with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
No, there isn't. And this is where it gets really, say, disjointed or really fucked up for people, especially for those people who run victim patterns. One, you're a victim pattern because you're giving your power away. So yes, that guy is creating a safe space. XI creates that safe space. But then what happens is like, oh, it's XI that's doing it, or it's Moss that's doing it. And then it's like, because of him, I'm getting turned on. In reality, it's that your spiritual awakening. And like you said, spiritual awakening is that sexual awakening, because it's the same center in your body. It goes much deeper than your brain center, but it is that same center because the intimacy that you're experiencing is literally your time-bound self, your physical form, and your spiritual form coming together. And when in women, when they do it properly, it is an orgasmic state. And there's a lot of women who have orgasms that might do the meditations with XI and stuff like that. It's about your higher self connecting with you. And it's an orgasmic state, especially for a lot of women.
Yes.
And it's the most beautiful thing, but don't destroy it. I would suggest not even connecting with your intimate partner that you trust for a little bit, right? Because then you'll associate that connection with your intimate partner.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you just be on your own. You solidify on your own. You get to see how euphoric you are, or how grand you are. A sexual experience of your own, and then when you solidify and you know who you are, and then you get intimate with your loved one, it's really a fantastic experience. And then that experience perpetuates your own, say, connection with yourself.
That's right.
And then sex becomes, say, limitless, or it doesn't get boring.
It's your sanctuary. It's where two people can create anything together. I truly believe that.
God, there's so many things I want to ask you.
So much.
So tell us about your dream. Because I think this, and then go into the details, because it's really amazing on when women start to awaken.
So in my dream, I end up in this place. I think I was walking to this office, and these beautiful women are around everywhere, and they're giving me a lot of attention. And I sense that they want to bring me into their office, and the doctor is there. And I'm looking around, and I'm kind of like trying to make sense of everything that's happening in this experience. And I sense that he is wanting to have a, intimate, like, connection on some level is what I'm sensing.
Yes.
And so in the dream, I like turn to him and want to hug him. Like that's just my instinct. Like, oh my gosh, you're bringing me into this amazing space. Like I just feel like I want to give you something. I want to give you my body. I want to do. But then this sense of shame like comes over me because I realize that's not what he was doing in the first place. He was just in this very heightened state that I was so attracted to and so incredibly I felt so good in, and I felt so good about myself in. But like I said, the moment I opened up and thought that it meant something more, and he was like, well, that's not really what I was trying to do here. But, you know, I'm like, oh, but it was uncomfortable. Like I'm just trying to give him a hug, trying to be with him. And I'm realizing that in that moment, that it's just the shame that comes over me. So yeah, that was the dream of experiencing as a woman all of those things that are going on in your head and being present to that energy within your body, right? And sensing that there's an attraction where there can be an attraction, but that doesn't mean there has to be a physical manifestation of that attraction.
It's a very interesting concept. And it's not just for women, guys. There are straight men. And if you work with women, I'm sure, I don't know, AJ, if you get this, but there are women who say heal their trauma, and then they'll get attracted to you, although they're not lesbian. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
That happens to me. Some of the guys, they get rid of their sexual trauma, especially if they've been abused by their mom. They'll get, say, attracted to me, and they think it's a sexual deal. And it's like, no, there's no intent there, buddy. You know?
And it is in that they see a representation, and I believe that is your higher self. That's the biggest piece. And then there's true admiration and respect, and you can feel that energy and not have a story attached to it. And that's the part I think that's so powerful, because I truly believe that energetic feeling that we have is this world has tainted, and really it's meant to be that spiritual experience.
I want to talk about when women get abused like that, and they go, okay, sex or intimacy or a connection of knowing myself, because it's not even about sex or intimacy, guys. It's not about the other person. It's about that deeper connection of self, right? It's like, that's not going to work out for me. What I'm going to do to fix it, though, is replace it. Women who have been traumatized like that, they start a business, and whether they become successful at it or not, it doesn't really matter. The end result is the same. What'll happen is that, one, they'll turn into a more masculine identity of themselves. Two, they lose more of their identity of becoming a female, right, and into a man. And then three, they think that money is going to protect them.
Yes, that's the key.
They'll feel less and less beautiful because money has replaced their beauty, their talent. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It's that masculine mask is what I call it. And it's because in their consciousness, they're still thinking about men as the perpetrator. So because they still have those thoughts going on, they appear more masculine, but it's the fear. And that's the energy that they're putting off. There is that level of relationship maturity of independence, but to be interdependent and intimate with someone takes being able to take those masks off.
Right. Yeah. And, to go even deeper. So you've been abused, not you, but people have been abused. Women have been abused by men. Mm-hmm. So to help them feel secure, and listen to this equation now, to help them feel secure, they're going to use a man's identity to help them feel secure. But it's the man frequency that has abused them, so to speak. It's not true, but that's what they think. They associate that. So it's like, hey, I'm going to be in a man's world. I'm going to be in a man's business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be successful. Again, in this society, it's associated with a male doing that, which isn't true at all. And that we do help business women who want to start a business run a successful business through women frequencies, because you're women. Guys. Yes. Women do a fantastic job creating success, creating creativity, creating a massive amount of money through a woman's frequency. But going back to that equation, does it make sense? If a male frequency has abused you, and then so male equals abuse, money equals male, and then you want money to protect you. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, does it?
And that's the conflict, because if you still have that story running that you're trying, and then you want to be in that world, I can't imagine making it work and be in your truth about what you want to drop that story. And then the frequency, like you talk about, I mean, I see it as a mask to that frequency, but that's what's not allowing them to really be in their feminine self, which is receptive and vulnerable.
Absolutely. So what is one or two key takeaways that you want women or even men to understand about, what you do, what your, desired outcome is for the world? What are two takeaways?
The first takeaway would be around sexual energy, that it is a spiritual experience, and that when you feel that, to not have any shame around that. And that is the energy that we use to create with. And I believe when two people can be in their truth of what that is for them, you can co-create at massive levels. That's my number one. And my number two would be that in order to feel that confidence and that charisma, it really has less to do with the gender, and it has more to do with what do you call it? The first principle of what that really is of the sexes, which is the giving and receiving energy. And how are we showing up in our own relationships, giving and receiving to ourselves first, in order to then give in our relationships. And I believe that would change the world if we would change those frequencies within ourselves and recognize that our relationships can actually be that catalyst to making those changes. It's powerful.
Beautiful. Any connections that you want to throw out there for our audience to connect with you?
Oh, sure.
Again?
Well, yeah, you can find me on social media. You can find me on my website, which is ignitethelight.net. That's the course that I teach. It's a self-taught course. And you can find my book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Yeah, I think I showed you the cover of that one. Yes, I'd love to connect. And you can always reach out to me and personally message me.
Fantastic. Yeah, and what we're going to do is we are going to create a women's program, get strong women like AJ, like Faye, and many other XI compatible women to show the world that women can be solid women, and they can have all the abundance, all the love, all those things that are attributed to women, and just really enjoy it without any guilt. So
thank you.
AJ, thanks for being on the show with me. This is Masati on the Exponential Intelligence Podcast.